It's my pleasure to introduce Westridge Elementary's 2018-2019 Teacher of the Year, Lauren Scott. At first glance, you would never notice what makes Lauren so special. If you were to do a walkthrough, you probably wouldn't walk out of a room blown away by what you saw. She's not one to put on crazy outfits or wigs. You won't hear any super creative songs used to teach concepts. Now I realize that this isn't a typical way to start a Teacher of the Year speech, but sometimes it's important to talk about what something isn't to truly appreciate what it is. Recently, I was fortunate enough to attend an administrators conference and hear a gentleman named Josh Shipp speak as a keynote. If you're not familiar with his story, I recommend Googling his name to hear him speak. In summary, he told his story. He was a foster kid who sought out to push away everyone around him in an effort to protect himself. He was incredibly successful at this, going from foster placement to foster placement, leaving a path of destruction in his wake. That was until Josh met Rodney. Now I won't attempt to tell the rest of Josh's story, but we'll share his message. Every kid is one caring adult away from success. Just one. For Josh, it was Rodney. Year after year, for many of our kids at Westridge, it's Lauren Scott. I'd like to go back to what I initially said about Lauren. You'll never see why Lauren is so special because it's less about what she does and more about who she is. Lauren is the teacher that every principal prays to have in his or her building. I've been fortunate enough to work with Lauren in 2 separate schools. In both settings, she's been the teacher who's changed a student's life. At Spring Valley, there was a student, let's call him Cliff, who came to us with a very similar story to Josh's. For Cliff, it wasn't realistic to think that he could last in a classroom for 4 hours, but instead more like 4 or 5 minutes. And even with that little bit of time, Lauren's love changed him. He smiled, he felt safe, he was safe. Last year, we gave a student to Lauren who had transitioned back to us from SWAS program. Let's call this girl Pokey. Although Pokey made great strides, she still had significant social struggles. She literally would melt down like the Wicked Witch of the West when things were hard. And I mean, like literally, like when she would melt down and say, I'm melting, Pokey would do that multiple times in one day. Pokey didn't trust anybody, but then she met Lauren. She immediately fell in love with Lauren and developed a bond of trust that changed her. And today she literally is a different kid. This year, same story, same result. Let's call this student Alan. Like the others, Lauren's ability to be that one person leading with compassion and love has taken a first grade boy struggling to handle any negative emotion without yelling, crying, or running away. And now Alan can feel safe enough to self-manage. And an example again of the compassion of Lauren, it wasn't necessarily her idea, but Alan likes to let you know when he disagrees with something or he thinks something is stupid. And now he can still get to do that, but instead he takes one of those little plastic phones and gets to just talk to himself about how stupid it is that he's being asked to do something that he disagrees with. But what's amazing is he does that, it doesn't interrupt the class, and he immediately comes back and is ready to listen to what Ms. Scott has asked him to do. I also call him Alan because recently Dr. Markley was able to come in and read in Lauren's class for Dr. Seuss Week. And the next day, this is just an example of where he's come from now to where we see the true essence of the student and his sense of humor. The next day they got to purchase some things using the Eagle dollars in the teacher store, and one of them was those glasses with a fake nose. And he put that on and then began walking around the classroom telling everybody he was Dr. Markley. Even better, the next day at dismissal time, I went up and talked to him, and he said, hey, Mr. Jones, did you know Dr. Markley was here yesterday? And it wasn't the day that Dr. Markley was there. He was referring to himself as Dr. Markley, walking around telling everybody he was Dr. Markley. Lauren, you're here not because of how you teach, but you're here because of who you are. I thank you, and our students thank you. Lauren Scott, Westridge, 2018-19.